Welcome back. You're watching live from Paris on France 24. It's time for Media Watch. We're going to take a look at what the journalists around the world have been talking about and tweeting about and all the rest of it. James Creedon is here. Good to see you,
evening,
James.
Laura. We're starting with French food, pain au chocolat. Except
my favourite.
Right. Except there was a pretty unsavoury version of it in the news this weekend. Jean-François Copé, he is the vying for the leadership of the UMP party against the former Prime Minister François Fillon. And on Friday, he came out with a statement. He was at a political rally, which I think we have pictures of. And what did he say? I'll tell you what he said, Laura.
What is it got to do with pain au chocolat?
It's all very odd. He said, he's kind of poaching the far right vote. So he's taken the discourse a little bit to the right. And he said, I understand the exasperation of parents when their children outside of the front gates of school have a pain au chocolat torn out of their hands because it's Ramadan and you can't eat, etc. So the thing is, Ramadan this year was actually...
Is that a common problem in France? We had a lot of complaints about
these, terribly mean people whipping pain au chocolat out of French people's hands because it's Ramadan.
It's all code though, isn't it?
It's all code for saying, I suppose the battle between the civilizations, this sort of idea. And the thing is, Ramadan wasn't even during the school year this year. It was in the 20th, finished on the 20th of August. So it's unlikely that people were taking pain au chocolat out of children's hands outside the front gate of the school when school wasn't even on,
summer
right?
vacation, right?
So I'll show you some of the reaction online. People, first of all, the Prime Minister was amongst many. Of course, he is the opposing party. He said it's not through stigmatising and demonising that France will be got out of its problems. And let's take a look at the computer, because you have here, this is a Libération cartoon, Jean-François Copé robbing Marine Le Pen and Jean-Marie Le Pen's pain au chocolat. Give me my pain au chocolat back, says
As in he's
Jean-Marie.
stealing their votes.
That's right, stealing their votes and their strategy.
Well, Sarkozy tried this tactic. It didn't work too well for him, did it?
That's right, and I'll get to that because actually there's a poll showing that it's not doing too well for him either. But take a look at this. This is a full study showing the spike in the incidence of stealing pain au chocolat during Ramadan, because it's a very bad problem. And here, this could be a solution. This is doing the round of social media. A little mini bag of pain au chocolat that you can eat en toute discrétion during Ramadan, so your children will be safe. They can discreetly eat pain au chocolat because it's such a risky thing to do, you see. Now, if we see, you see, this is it. And now they're saying there's a poll that came out today in Le Figaro saying, despite all of this, Copé, pictured here on the right, is not doing well in the polls.
Really?
François
Fillon's trumping him,
Fillon is trumping him pretty much on all questions, in fact. So this strategy, even in the question of who is the most faithful to Nicolas Sarkozy's ideas, now Jean-François Copé has said that he is the one who is the torchbearer for Sarkozy's policies. But actually, when people were asked, Copé, only 18% thought that he was doing the flag bearer for the torchbearer, whatever the expression is, for Sarkozy, whereas 32% thought that François Fillon, the former Prime Minister, was more faithful to his predecessor's ideas.
Well, he looks rather bored with that more than anything else. But anyway, let's move on to Valérie Trierweiler, François Hollande's girlfriend, who has made a rare step into the limelight, hasn't she?
That's right. This is over Florence Cassé, who was a prisoner in Mexico she was convicted for 60 years, given a 60-year sentence for conspiracy to kidnap, exactly, and all related to drug dealing. Now, Nicolas Sarkozy made a big deal out of this last year, and as a result caused a massive diplomatic spat between France and Mexico. There was a cancellation of a cultural event, which was the Year of Mexico in France. Now Valérie Trierweiler says, you know what? I am going to send a gift to Florence Cassé every single month until she is freed, which might be quite a while, seeing as she has a 60-year sentence. But this has been a big diplomatic issue between France and Mexico in the past. It caused a lot of trouble. So this is perhaps a way of dealing with this issue in a less provocative manner. It's the First Lady is dealing with it and not the actual head of state.
But it's still keeping it in the headlines, isn't it?
That's right. Now let's take a look at some of those headlines. The discreet support of Valérie Trierweiler for Florence Cassé, perhaps not so discreet, seeing as we're talking about it. That's in Le Parisien. And indeed, The Guardian's been talking about it as well. And actually, the president-elect of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto, is arriving in France, in Paris this month, and he's going to be meeting with François Hollande, and indeed the first ladies of the respective countries are going to meet as well. So she's perhaps being spoken about for something other than a controversial tweet, which is not a bad thing.
Not bad for her, but it's also a different tactic, isn't it? Rather than the Sarkozy confrontational style, they're trying to get around
absolutely it. And actually,
rapprochement.
And some tweets picking up on it as well. One person saying, "Oh, Florence Cassé from the from the back end of her prison cell in Mexico is going to try to help Valerie Trierweiler to rise up in the polls, kind of poor her. So I'm not sure if that's, I think it's more the other way around actually in terms of the help being given. But there you go.
Now, James, your next item, I'm sorry, this is absolutely utterly nonsensical.
I picked this to provoke you, Laura, actually.
I was fuming when I read this earlier.
All right, well, this is a Norwegian study saying that...
By men, by any chance?
Saying that you should do the hoovering, actually.
Yes,
that's what the study
thanks. I need that.
Right. The idea is household chores, the more equally they're shared out, there is a correlation with a higher incidence of divorce. That's the idea.
So men who do the hoovering end up getting divorced.
End up getting divorced. This is it. It's a
warning.
bad strategy.
There you are, men. Leave the hoover where it is.
Now, 50% higher incidence of divorce in households where women do all, or no, in where women don't do all the work. Right. Now, of course, they're pointing out in this article that there's no causal link. It's just a coincidence, if you like.
So what are they saying? That men prefer women who do all the housework?
I think what they're saying is, look, we have a coincidence here, and we're not saying there's any necessarily any link between the two. For example, it could be, in households where the tasks are shared out, it could also be the case that both parties work, that it's a more stressful lifestyle, that they're less traditional, less religious, therefore perhaps more likely to divorce. There you go.
You can read into it what you will. James Creedon, I'm sure
Nasty
girlfriends
study.
and wives around the world will be very grateful to you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you very much indeed. All right, that's it for Media Watch. We're going to give you more tidbits and interesting things from the internet now. It's time for our daily dose of web news.